Cat. It's Maximus here, this time with a review of this little Dorcy 135 lumen zoom focusable flashlight. Once again, 135 lumens. I thought this was actually pretty neat for using just two triple A's. I should mention it did come with a little pocket clip, but I always pull those off. The other thing I should mention is they decided to laser etch their name right over the knurling, and it doesn't make it very easy to read. It doesn't matter because those get worn off anyway, but if I were a company, I probably would have put it on a surface where it's easier to see my name. We can see that knurling is really surprisingly precise. That wasn't done with a pressure or rolling knurler. That was done with some type of actual cutting type knurler. Very interesting, but it really is just about absolutely perfect. So this Dorcy was reasonably cheap. You know, the packaging is almost as heavy as the flashlight with the batteries, and that's kind of what caught my eye, is that it was a small dual AAA pocket flashlight. I haven't been super fond of the single AAA pocket flashlights just because it's just so low power. They just, are just so dim. I did pick up that Lux Pro 1 AA pocket flashlight, which I liked, but it was just a bit bulky, a bit large in diameters, and so in that review I said I was just going to continue to use this little 65 lumen Harbor Freight Quantum. Until I saw this thing, and I like that one. It is a lot brighter, and then a little pen light, I actually like the zoom function a little better. If I have a big flashlight, then I'm either going to want to just do a nice flood, or I really want a powerful beam that shoots, that has a ton of range and reach. But when it comes to pen flashlights, you're just using this. You're a mechanic or a technician, or just have one in the desk drawer. And let me adjust this light here. And part of the problem with a normal flashlight, even though this one's only half the output, is that you just have such a bright, it's just so intense right in the center point, and then it's okay around the edge, but you end up getting blinded by that intensity, and it makes it pretty hard to see whatever you're working on. And then when you have, even though this flashlight's twice as bright, there is one undeniable property of zoom flashlights and they actually use a lens rather than just like a flat piece of plastic or glass, is the fact that it will redistribute the light. There is some, hewing right around the edge, fringing around the edges, but it's just an even circle of light. And so if you are a technician working in machinery, looking around an engine bay, inside an electrical panel, to tell you the truth, having a nice evenly lit circle is really advantageous, because that way your eyes are adjusted, and wherever you're looking, it's all the same brightness. And really, that was the big selling point. And then of course we can zoom in here, and we can see that its intensity is actually pretty good. Actually, let me go outside here. Alrighty, I'm about 10 meters or 30 feet, 35 feet away from the side of this truck. Here's the Quantum. That's the 65 lumens. And then let's try 135 lumens Dorcy. You can see how much it casts out, and even when your eyes adjust, it's not super bright, but it still works pretty well. And if we zoom in here, this is difficult holding the camera. There we go. It's definitely pretty darn bright. Now if we do the Quantum, we can see how much more it concentrates it. Definitely has just a bit more throw, and we can see how much brighter it really is. Here's another shot of just it zoomed out, and then if we use the Harbor Freight, we can see it's brighter in the center, but almost no comparison compared to the circle of light you get out of the Dorcy. So anyway, that was my crunchy review of this little Dorcy pen light, and it's actually going to be my new go-to one just because of that. Never been super fond of these zoom flashlights. Sometimes they're a little bit handy, but when they're actually this small, it's a much better idea in my opinion. Big flashlights are better to have a fixed focus, because then they can be optimized for it, but little pocket flashlights, I think this one's actually not too bad, and they advertise a 4-hour runtime. And you can't rebuild the front end of these. That's what I've never liked about it. No zoom flashlight I've run into yet can you take apart the front part without basically ruining it. which also means that you can't replace the O-ring that's in there, so you might want to periodically put a little bit of oil in there just so it'll lube the O-ring. What I did like is on the back, we can hear this. The threads are actually surprisingly smooth for once. It almost looks like they put a drop of oil on them, which would be a first in these aluminum flashlights. They always have chunky threads. But that the O-ring is right in the back there, and it just seats in a little taper, which I like much better because it's a better way to compress an O-ring because it's not sliding up and down a bore. And you don't always have to have just the exact perfect size. If it's a little bit thicker or something, the sealing system will still work just fine because it just compresses it right there at the bottom. Actually, that's not a bad idea at all. And they include a lanyard hole, which seems to be something like on so many flashlights they're missing, although they didn't include any provisions to prevent it from rolling. With the belt or with the pocket clip, that would prevent it from rolling, so maybe they're counting on that. Anyway, I thought this was a neat little flashlight, and actually having a reasonable amount of lumens and a dual AAA pen pocket light, really not so bad. Anyway, I really appreciate everybody watching and subscribing. And if you haven't subscribed, please do. Until next time, Catus Maximus out.